Hello and welcome to Paxton Road TV. This is Paxton Road TV. This is Talking Points. And we're late comer, but he's in the house as well. I see him there sneaking. But anyway, you guys know that who's in the background. Anyway, back to the start of the show. Welcome to Talking Points. I am Sam Spurs for Life, and we are going to be talking about this subject tonight. Let me get it on screen for the viewers. Who's to blame for Derby Day pain? Oh, it's hard being a Spurs fan at times. And it's even harder when you lose to West Ham over the weekend. But I'm joined in the house by residents Mike-Hotspur Hustler, Darius 3K Sid Spurs, and we're joined from the Irish Hotspurs land, Irish Hotspur himself, David, and Jack, Flat Cat, Euro Talk, Kaniki. Welcome. How are we doing all? What
a lineup. What a lineup.
Before I start, if it wasn't for Man United, we would be having real problems here. But Man United, thank you very much for what you did at the weekend. Much appreciated. Ollie in. That's what I'm going to say. Right, then let's get on with the show. We can't take the piss out of them because we've got enough piss to take out of ourselves. So we'll get the banner up and let's start with the show. Okay, then. Without further ado, who's to blame for the Derby Day pain? We've so far played. How many games have we played? Four derbies. We've conceded 10 goals and scored 1. We've played away 3 times. We might have to take that into consideration, but 3-0 loss to Crystal Palace, 3-0 loss to Chelsea, 3-1 loss to Arsenal, and then obviously the game at the weekend, and now 1-0 loss to West Ham, but we didn't look like winning that game. I'm going to start with you, Mike. Tell me about your thoughts about... Look at his faces! This is what I mean. This is how much therapy we need to go through. I'm going to start with you. I'm working all the way around. Sid, your screen's a little bit dark. I don't know if you want to get yourself a little bit of a light in there, or you trying to hide in the background. I would do the same thing. I would be hiding.
He's hiding
too.
the Derby
So
Day.
I don't mind you. I don't mind you doing that because if I could hide, I wouldn't be on this show. Anyway, Mike.
It's darker up north. It's darker up north, so I'm trying to get... I'm in Manchester. It's all doom and gloom around Manchester area.
Oh, we got to laugh. Somehow we got to laugh. What should be quiet? But anyway, I'm going to come back to this show before it goes off too much off topic. Mike, tell me about the weekend.
Oh, mate. Are we talking about the weekend in general or the 4 Derby losses in general? Because I don't even know where to begin with this. I'll start off with the Derby Day pain. I'm blaming it. I'm going to blame it on the players because I think when you look at the goal that we conceded, I think I mentioned this on Twitter, and the lead up to the corner from Reggie, was it Reggie? Yeah, I think it was Reggie's mistake, wasn't it? And then the corner itself. When you look at the marking for the goal that we conceded, you had, who was it? You had Skip, Lucas Moura, Højbjerg, and I think it was those 3 that looked like they were on that sort. Well, they were facing the corner on the edge of that, on the edge of the 6-yard box there. And I still don't know. I've watched it time and time again. How does that ball fly over 3 heads? You had Son, who's marking space. What's the point in him being in the 18-yard box? He ain't going to win a header. Get him out of the box. And let him be a pain further upfield if we can break away. It might take one of those strikers or attackers that are in the box. It might make them think twice, and they might follow him back out the 18-yard box. You got Kane. It still baffles me as to why he's marking Antonio. I mean, if I don't excuse Kane reacting slowly for that goal. I mean, he should have been reacting quicker for the goal. But if he's on the edge of that box, he ain't good. As in, like one of those 3, whether it's Moira, Skip, or Højbjerg. If he was one of those 3, I'm backing Kane. 9 times out of 10, he would win that head. He ain't gonna lose that head there. So I don't get why he's marking Antonio. I would have changed it around. You had Reggie marking Susek. I mean, Reggie's never going to win a header. So why is he marking someone that's over 6 foot? So I just don't get the whole. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And then we go a goal down, and then it's like, what? It's like we were just trying to play out for a point, even though we're behind, and we didn't get any shots on goal in the second half, which is a pattern in itself in general, whether it's Derby Day or whether, I mean, we didn't get a shot on goal against Newcastle. So there's obviously something that's an issue with us in the second half of any game. And I'm blaming the players, because you could argue that Nuno didn't bring on the subs. He didn't change the game up. Yeah, he could have probably taken off one of the double pivot when we've gone a goal down and brought on an attacking player like Lo Celso or Brian or whoever it might have been to offer something a bit further forward. But I think Nuno's got it tough with some of these players. I don't reckon any manager that comes in, if Nuno was to get the sack, I don't think any manager that comes in after him is going to get a tune out of most of this squad. I mean, half that team is. I'm baffled. And for once, I don't even know where to begin with it, really. And I'm lost for words, because it's a reoccurring theme. You look at the Palace game, you look at the Chelsea game. Okay, Chelsea are obviously Chelsea, and you could expect us to lose that game because they've got a far superior side than us. But Arsenal, we shouldn't be losing to Arsenal, Crystal Palace, West Ham. I said this in the aftermath.
before you depress us all, Mike. Before you depress us all, I know, because we could do this all day. It's
frustrating. It's annoying because we're playing against teams that are on paper should be inferior to us. On paper, Arsenal, West Ham, Crystal Palace, on paper are inferior. But
100%.
The difference is they're playing like a team. They're playing like there's a collective spirit in those teams to get the point. And we just got none of that. You got some players making the right noises, like Lloris. Yeah, he's saying the right things, but and to be fair, he's not one of the culprits. And neither is the back line. The issue we've got is the creative play and the strategy going forward with Spurs, and it's just non-existent, really.
There is so much that we could go into, but we will go into them because quite a few points that we're going to get to. But before I come to the next person, I just want to get this super chat up. Thank you very much, SUBSRCRIBE TV, for your generous super chat here. I know it's impossible, but hands up, who right now would take Vinicius back? Not replacing him is criminal. Big up the gorgeous folks and Mike. As SUBSRCRIBE's always giving us food. Sid, I'll come to Sid before I come to our guests, because I want to come to them too next. Seeing what Bob said here, is it a case of we don't have enough in the striking department? Would you think that what Bob said here is correct?
This is a debate, and this is a question that we're going to keep asking over and over and time after time. Yes, we do need a backup striker. It's now proven that Scarlett, because of his age and that, is not the solution. We could have had, Vinicius was, when he did play for us, he made the odd appearances here and there in the cups, in the Europa League and stuff like that, and he scored. All right, he scored that hat-trick against Marine, and everyone made a big song and dance about it. But we had the luxury of resting Kane, or whether he was injured or I don't know for that game, but we had the luxury of resting Kane. So Vinicius came in, he'd done a job. He didn't score every single game, but he scored and he contributed now and then. And we didn't have to rely on Kane all the time. The pressure now is on Scarlett, isn't it? Everybody says, oh, he's doing it for the young. He's doing it. I know what you're going to say, Mike. I know he's young. We haven't
Sid, I was going to say to you, I was just going to say very quickly, it doesn't matter what striker you've got up top. If you're not creating the chances, the final ball at the weekend was terrible. Like,
it was.
To be fair to Ndombele, I thought he was trying. He was one of the few that was trying from a creative perspective. But whether it was Moura, whether it was Son, whether it was Ndombele, whoever it was, the final ball was piss poor. So how is any striker gonna, whether we've got a backup striker or not, it doesn't matter if you take Kane off and bring in Vinicius. What's the difference? You're still not creating anything. So how is he going to score goals if you're creating diddly squat?
That's the point. Look, we can all sit here and talk about, Vinicius, Stain, Scarlett, whatever. You cannot tell me, looking at yesterday's game, that you would sit there and say, let's bring on Vinicius, he's going to change this game.
He wouldn't have done.
No.
Nobody can say that. Second of all, look, when you're talking about Vinicius, you break down his goals. He scored against absolutely crap teams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, like, he scored one goal in the Premier League inside the 6-yard box. Now, I thought when we were all talking about a backup striker that we were actually all talking about a quality backup striker, not a player who's been a journeyman all of his career, who's been replaced at Benfica, has been loaned out to PSV, right? And he's not even getting a game at PSV. Not only that, we couldn't loan him again purely because Benfica wanted the 30 million on the buyback clause or on the buy clause. So you didn't have the option of taking him in on loan again. But the thing is, Vinicius is not the answer. If we can sit there and say Dane Scarlett's not good enough, right? But the thing is, you also have to look, what chance are we giving him when we're not putting chances? And we're not creating any chances. As a team, we have created less chances under Nuno than what we have under Pochettino and Jose Mourinho. So if you're not going to give Dane Scarlett a chance and start providing chances for him, well then how can you deem him not good enough? Now, look, we all sat here at the end of last season as well when we talked about qualifying for the Europa Conference League. We all said we wanted to play our youngsters in it. Now we're playing our youngsters in it. Why all of a sudden are we going against what we were saying last season? But ultimately, when we're talking about a backup striker, ask yourself this: is Vinicius really the answer? What did he actually really do at Tottenham Hotspur? Now we can see
smarter than Vinicius.
He banged a hat-trick against Marine, didn't he?
Marine, I could score a hat-trick against Marine after falling out the pub on a Sunday morning. Honestly, I could. You know, the thing is, when we're talking about backup striker, I thought we were all talking about a quality backup striker. Someone that you know that when he can come on the pitch, that you know he will get goals, he will be a threat. Not someone like Vinicius. I'm sorry. But how many games last year was he up there doing absolutely fuck all? You know,
there are also 3 strikers at Benfica at the moment that have outscored and will outscore Vinicius's best season at Benfica. You have Yaremchuk that they replaced him with. You have Darwin Nunez, who's already a lot better than him. And then you also have Haris Seferovic, who's practically had a better season than Vinicius ever did in his entire career in Portugal. So you think about it that way. PSV never rated him. Napoli never rated him. And now Benfica has not rated him. Basically, think smarter than Vinicius.
Listen, we could have had Haaland in up front at the weekend and we would not have scored. No. We didn't create fuck all. We created nothing. The players, as I said, we're going to get into the show a bit more. Just going to read out this super chat from Kim. Shout out to Brian Paxton fam. No real message other than directly or indirectly. All roads for blame lead back to Mr. Levy. That's all. Peace and loveism. Thank you very much. So, all right, this is the first part of the show because this is what I really wanted to get into. We all know that there's got to be. It's not one thing that's going to be the problem here. There's a number of issues. I don't know what's the main issue. A lot of people are going to say it's the board. A lot of people are going to say we've hired the wrong manager. A lot of people are going to say the players, we still need to get rid of some of the players. But what for the game on Sunday, who can we really look at to be the problem for that? And I'm going to come to Darius first. What out of the players, the board, the manager, who would be more responsible for that? And then we can open it up to the more of the derby games, but open it up to the whole season so far as well, because there's something fundamentally not quite right within the club. We all think, that the Kane saga may have contributed to it. We all think that Nuno being maybe the 4th choice manager isn't the right thing. We all know about 20 years of Enoch and people saying the board haven't done this, the board haven't done that. We've done shows before. We've shown about the money being spent, but it's not being spent widely. We've got Paratiti in, director of football. So we've got a lot of things in the right place, but we're still not getting the results on the pitch. Darius, can you explain to me where the majority of this might lie, who it might lie with?
I've been claiming a curse for about the past 2 or 3 years, but people aren't going to take the curse as a good enough excuse. So for me, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? It's almost like we're expecting ourselves to fail now, and almost and I'm talking about the players mostly when I think about this. Whenever there's a situation where we could get somewhere, it almost is like the players don't want to do that, and it's like that last hurdle seems to be too big of a hurdle. And is it just a case of crossing it and potentially getting lucky? Because at the end of the day, you can be the best team in the world. You're going to need an element of luck to win any trophy in the world. And I could claim it's just pure lack of luck from a player's perspective. But then I say, look at the players we've had, look at the teams we've had. In terms of this season, for me, Nuno's made countless, especially the derbies. I look at the Crystal Palace team that he started off with. He played a diamond. What are you doing? I don't know what you were thinking about playing a diamond. Chelsea, I would say the first half we were good, so I'm perfectly fine with that. But you didn't start Ollie Skip, and we got absolutely trounced in the second half. Arsenal, we know what happened with Arsenal. 4-3-3 without Ollie Skip. That's another lineup issue. And then West Ham, the lineup's good, but the players didn't want it. So for me, it's players and managers are the main thing. But then, like Kim said in the super chat, it goes back to one thing, and who hires these players, who hires these managers, who doesn't want to get rid of these players, who doesn't choose the right manager. So it almost is like it answers itself. But in terms of this season, Nuno's not helping himself at all. I think some of the lineup decisions and formation decisions have been poor, and he's not learned from mistakes. And I was getting onto Jose so much about that issue last season, and I can't sort of be faking and sort of be a lie to myself and not get onto Nuno for the same thing. I saw him play the same formation over and over again without playing sort of in game against Arsenal. I don't care what you say. Like I said, Mike, I understand what you're saying. We should possibly be beating Arsenal on paper in a derby because we're better than them. But against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium, you don't play sort of a naive style of football. You're going to have to be a little bit more defensive because you know that sort of the difficulty of that match. And the same goes for Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. And the same went for Man City, regardless of what stadium we play Man City as, which is why we beat them, because we had the correct game plan to play the correct team. We don't have to play this attacking football just to prove a point. We need to play football that sort of competes against the teams that we're playing against. And that's why I'm sort of Nuno, and sort of what he's doing seems to be very stubborn, and I don't enjoy it. Pragmatism is right, but you do have to have a base philosophy idea, and his idea isn't working at the moment, and it doesn't seem like he's going to change it. So how do you change that? You have to swap him out, I guess. That's the first port of call as a manager. You can't get rid of all the players. As we've seen, we've got rid of 6 in the summer, and we're still playing awful. There's still too many players to get rid of. So for me, it has to be the manager. The board's not going to go anywhere in the next 7 to 8 months, but by the end of the season. So the manager, I guess, has to be the first port of call. So it's unfortunate, but it's how it is.
Let me ask Jack, because wait, before I get to you, Jack, let me just give a shout out to, I hope I pronounce this correct, Crocodux. That'll do. Right. Even though this is a daily reminder that Ryan Mason is inevitable. I really don't want to be talking about Ryan Mason on this show, but somebody's already gone and started that. Jack, given the fact that, we're talking about players manager board, who's more culpable for the results so far?
I think to a degree, I think it's more, I think everybody can always blame the board for practically everything because every problem is fixed by getting the board out. But I would say in particular for West Ham, it's more the players than even the manager for me, actually. And the reason being is because it does take maybe players in order to take risks that we just simply weren't taking. It's maybe playing that ball. It might be a bit of a risk that leads to a counterattack, especially since West Ham practically had 11 men behind the ball in their own stadium. When you think about it, when you are kind of put yourself in that kind of situation, you would think that to a degree, and I'm not saying Nuno got very much right, but if they do have 11 men behind the ball against us, that does say something about us maybe doing something right. And when you think about it in those terms, that just requires then players like Emerson, Reguilón, in order to play that cross and play the right ball. Also, even think about it as well. The final ball with some of our players was absolutely atrocious. You had 3 different players in our front line that couldn't play an easy ball across the 6 for a tap-in. You had Sonny who couldn't square it to Kane. I mean, that had to go in. He was decided to be selfish and tried to put it in himself, but and it didn't go in the back of the net. He could have easily squared it to Kane. Same thing with Tanguy. He had a moment where he could have squared it to Kane or Sonny. Wasn't able to do it. And then another situation where Kane could have squared it and he didn't do it. So you think about that. Those are 3, in my opinion, 3 potential tap-ins where all it required was an easy ball into the box across the 6, and they would have been able to score. And then as well, think about times where Emerson decided to just play it back into Skippy or Højbjerg when he easily could have crossed it or taken on his man. Think about the same thing as Reguilón. And also, again, these players had a full week in order to prepare for this match. It's not really on Nuno. As much as I think Nuno is not the most inspiring guy, I really don't think Nuno has to tell these players, listen, guys, this is your 4th London derby. You have to do something for the fans here. I mean, how much do we have to,
But Jack, just quickly,
manager? Yeah.
There's been that stat that's going around that in the last, I think it's 3 games, we haven't had a shot on goal in the second half. Is that just down to players, or is that down to tactics, or is that just down to, I don't know, fatigue? What is it down to? Because I can't understand that stat, particularly when you're chasing a game. Do you know what I mean? You can throw long balls into the box. You can shoot from distance. You can do any of those things to try and at least get a shot on target, but not to have a shot.
Get a shot, not even a shot on target.
Not even a shot. That to me, there's a fundamental issue there. David, what do you think could be the issue with regards to that aspect of the game?
Look, for me, just quickly, I think the whole North London derby situation, it's a 4-part problem. Look, especially West Ham, it's not just one player individually. You can't pull out Kane, you can't pull out Højbjerg, you can't pull out Son, all individually. For me, it's a collective. At the end of the day, they all had a week to prepare themselves for this game. We look like the team that played Thursday night, not West Ham. Second of all, but like with the players, look, to be honest with you, I want to blame Kellogg's. I think the players might have missed their cornflakes that morning. Look, it's not good enough from the players. It's not good enough. There was a lack of movement off the ball. There was a lack of energy. And the lack of movement off the ball is what's killing our creativity, Shane. Just to answer that question. It's absolutely killing it. I don't know how many times I counted Dyer and Romero passing the ball between them. I don't know how many times I counted sideways passes, backwards passes. The players deeper have to take more responsibility to be braver on the ball, but also the players up front have to be dropping into spaces, have to be running in behind the defense to pull the team ragged and create the spaces to be able to play in. We did not do that. The whole thing at the weekend was static. It was like 11 mannequins out there. Then you look at Nuno Espirito Santo. Look, with Nuno, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sitting here calling for his head yet. I still think we have to give a manager time. I'm a firm believer we have to give this guy time, because if not, we can all say the likes of Ten Hag and stuff, they're not coming to Tottenham. You're going worse. You're going to get an ex-club legend in, and you're going to end up in a situation like Man United and Arsenal are in. That's the road we're going down. That part has already been paved twice by them two clubs. Let's look at that and not want to go down that route. But at the same time, you cannot let that fear stop you looking for a new manager if it's not right. When you look at Nuno, look, he has a better squad to work with this year than what Mourinho did last year. Mourinho produced better attacking football. He also got our two world-class players looking like world-class players. It's not happening under Nuno. I do think it's tactics, but I also blame the players for a lot of this. I cannot forgive them. I can't forgive them, because at the end of the day, you can put all the tactics you want in place. And I always say this, it comes down to the individual to want to do it. You can't make them do it if they don't want to. Are the players inspired by Nuno? Probably not. I don't think they are. But look, with Nuno as well, I have problems with Nuno. He's standing there with his arms folded. I'm not being funny. If I see my team not running about, I would absolutely rollick them, especially after giving them a week off, giving them the vote of confidence by saying, you're my 80. What more do you need? Go out and perform. They failed to show up.
It's a balancing act, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
from a manager's perspective, because if you just sat there screaming, I get what you're saying, because I think all of us as fans would probably be thinking the same sort of things, like screaming, don't just stand there with your arms folded, look to be doing something on the sideline. But these players, some of them are probably delicate, aren't they? And so it's
I couldn't give a toss how delicate they are.
Well, then
I'm
be
not
delicate.
taking
You know what I mean? Be delicate at Burnley, Crystal Palace or something.
Players are being paid a lot of money.
Lot of
I
money,
can be
yeah.
delicate, but I'm not getting paid. No, that's not happening. I don't want to hear none of that. If they
It's
get
different
put
though,
out,
Sam.
they had no game in the midweek. They were told it's a London derby. They had 3 other London derbies where they didn't do F all.
Exactly, Sam.
You cannot tell
Exactly.
me that they haven't got the attitude or the balls to then go out and perform against West Ham, who they know it's their cup final. There's no the Arsenal one.
But no,
I can forgive the Chelsea one to a degree, even Crystal Palace being away from home. But the last two, there's
100%.
no way. There's no way on earth. West Ham. Come on.
What about all the fans worldwide who wake up at ungodly hours to watch that crap? Fans that pay all their TV subscriptions to watch that crap. Fans that pay to follow this team, sun or rain. What about them watching that crap? Now, surely after the last 3, someone during the week could have got that squad together. One of the key players in that squad and said, for the fans, we cannot lose this. We have to go out and put our best performance out there. They didn't do it.
But the only 2 people that would do that would probably be Lloris and maybe Højbjerg. I don't think Kane's doing that anymore.
Not even that.
Because Kane doesn't care.
Dyer maybe.
Højbjerg could do it. There's players there. Dyer, there's players there that have been there now under 4 managers.
Yeah.
You know, there is players there. And if they're not doing it, well, then get them out of the club, because they're supposed to be the leaders. If they're not fulfilling the role, get them gone. But the problem is, just to finish the point, just quickly, West Ham, on a micro level, you're looking at Nuno and you're looking at the players. On a bigger scale, you're looking at the owner, because ultimately everything comes down because we're in this situation purely because of him. But the fourth part to it is us fans. We have a part to play whether we like it or not. We need to demand more. We need to we need to make our frustrations known more. We need to let players know that these performances are not acceptable. They are pushing fans away from this club in their droves, in their absolute droves. I'm getting so many messages on a daily basis that fans, that's affecting their mental health. They cannot put up with this crap any longer. Do you blame them? They're watching a Tottenham team every couple of decades picking up at least a couple of trophies. You were guaranteed it. And now they're watching, the likes of players out there, especially in Thursday cases night, players who could not give a toss. They've gone from watching Graham Roberts, Mickey Hazard, and players like that to now they're watching Harry Winks and the Salso who can't even control a game that it should be. Do you blame them? This whole squad, this whole club needs a reality check right now.
Sid, what's happening in the dressing room? Do you think there's obviously something going on in the dressing room that's not right? Because I watched that corner and I saw Harry Kane. He didn't do anything. And now I know we had the Region bit about giving away the corner, so we can track back. But even then, a corner comes in. Antonio, we know he loves scoring against Spurs. But to do what he did, just to flick out a leg to score a goal like that, to me, there shows that there's a disconnect between all of these players, and it has to be in the dressing room, because you can't tell me that they were in the dressing room saying, lads, I can't be asked today. There's no way that you can't have that attitude. So something's going on in it. Do you have an idea what that could be?
You know what? Just going back on, I know I'm going to answer your question in a minute, Sam, but just going back to what we were saying about Nuno standing on the touchline, folding his arms and that. I saw a video today, or a meme stroke tweet on Twitter. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, with that Nuno Conte, the Conte one, where I don't know which game it was.
Oh yeah, where he dragged
Chelsea,
him and
where he's dragged the coach off the bench. He's tapped him and said, "Go and have a look what's going on." Then he's dragged him out and he's pointed again towards the touchline, and then he's kicked him and said, "Go down there and sort the shit out." And the guy's gone running like he's fearing for his life. Yeah,
This is a great
that
video.
is the kind of person that you need, who knows that there's something wrong, something's not going right. Get out there and go and get it sorted before I kick the shit out of him and I sort it out myself, right? But going back to what you're saying, yeah, I think what's happening at Spurs is, the American football dressing room that we've got downstairs. I think we're using that because the space between the players is down. Yeah,
Seriously.
There's no contact, there's no togetherness in that dressing room. I think the players, the vocal ones, like we've all said, the Dyers, the Højbjergs, the Kanes. I think Kane's been put in a corner, and someone's just said to him, in the film, nobody put baby in the corner. Well, in this occasion, they've put baby in the corner and they said, do not talk to him, right? And I don't think they're talking. I don't think they're talking at all. I think they're just going in that dressing room, and basically what they're saying is, do you know what? That's another fine mess you've got into. And they all stood there doing the Lauren Hardy thing like that, saying, you know what, you deal with it. No, you deal with it. Lloris can only do so much, captain of France. Kane's not interested, I think.
Kane don't care.
Yeah, Kane don't care. Højbjerg is probably thinking, I can only do so much unless I put my Vikings thing on and beat the shit out of some of these. I think Dyer's vocal, but I think there's little groups happening in that dressing room. And I think Nuno just sits there or stands there, and I don't think Nuno does anything. I think he just leaves them to it. And the problem is, as a collective, I think they need to have a proper meeting. You remember Phil Brown, what he did with Hull City in the middle of the pitch, right? In front of the whole, on Saturday against Man United, leave them on the pitch at halftime, bring them all around the centre circle, have 55,000 fans, right? And you do a team talk and let the fans shout and scream, and let's see if they take notice. Because
what I would say to that is Phil Brown didn't last too much longer after that.
No,
he didn't last too much longer after that.
But you know what? It's getting to that situation where who are they listening to? Because they're not listening to Nuno for a fact. And what you said, Sam, I think there is something going. Whether some of them, there's all these rumors that some players don't want Nuno, they're not listening to him, tactics, blah blah blah. I think Nuno has got tactics. I think some of these players, right? Because listen, my boy goes plays football on a Saturday. I'm sorry, but in 80 minutes, they at least have one shot on target. They were 5-0 down, 6-0 down. You've got players, like I said to you last week, Sam. My wife said these players are on 100 grand, 200 grand a week. Yeah, come on. If you're not having a shot on goal, sack me, get rid of me.
You're not trying. There's no effort. You can't be trying. You cannot be trying. I just want to get to this super chat from Dara. Dara, thanks again. Nuno cannot be doing attacking training by the way they're playing. It's like Sunday League attacking football. 3 matches, no shots in the second half, and we've talked about that. There's a very much point.
That's an unbelievable. Like, people use the word unbelievable a lot. I genuinely cannot believe that stat. Like, how can you not have a shot in a game, let alone 3 games? That is crazy. That's crazy to me.
Let's move on to the next part of the show then, because we I think we've almost reached it. I think by the way we're talking on this show at the moment, we've almost reached it. But I'm going to start with Darius, and I want to get Mark's thoughts as well. What is breaking point? As I said, in the league itself, and I've written it down here. We've scored 9, we've conceded 13, we've won 5, we've lost 4. Played 9 games, by the way, we've scored 9 goals. But as we said, there's some stats out there, the XGs, the running stats, the total shots, they're all pants. They're all pants at the moment. What or when is enough? At what point would you say enough is enough, Darius?
I'm going to keep saying this, and I've been saying this for a long, long time. Nuno's job is dependent on other people in this football community's job. And when I say football community, I basically mean PSG. If Poch loses his job, Nuno loses his job. If Marcelo Gallardo is available, I do think Tottenham will look at that as an option in December. So I don't think he really... You could say he's a dead man walking, but like David said, I don't want to really think like that. I don't want Tottenham to be a club that's sort of sacking managers on a whim like that. So maybe me, just as a person, is maybe thinking that that's not the case. But I honestly think that his job is dependent on other people's jobs in football at the moment. And I genuinely, if Poch was to get sacked tomorrow, I genuinely 100% believe that they will sack Nuno the same day or the day after and hire Poch, because honestly, Mike, it's that case. They're giving him a 2-year contract. There's obviously this rumor about, obviously, if he doesn't get top 6, they can sack him without any sort of fees that they have to pay. He's not here to stay. He's not here to stay longer than 2 years. So in my opinion, sort of these performances and sort of this going so bad so quickly is only going to speed up a decision that was already probably inevitable from when he signed the contract. So and like I said, I'm already hearing rumors about certain PSG players not enjoying sort of the way that Poch is playing football. Zidane's on the market. I know he's a Marseille boy, but I just think that there's certain things and opportunities and times in football where I just think that Poch isn't really enjoying himself there. And I know that if Poch is given an opportunity to come back to Tottenham, he isn't going to turn that down. I know Manchester United is also a situation as well, but I just genuinely believe that Nuno's job is dependent on everybody else's job around football.
But why do you feel that Poch coming back would solve the problem? Because
it wouldn't.
The way I see it, I don't see
100% wouldn't, Mike.
You could. I just can't see any manager coming in after Nuno doing anything like getting anything or doing anything better than what we've got or what we've had since Pochettino's left. I just, however you look at it, we've got a clear. Further players need to be shifted out, which you could argue like Nuno's come in, he's got and Paratici's come in, and we've got rid of half a dozen players. No, probably more than that. In fact, we've probably got close to a dozen players out the door. There's still further players that need to go out. We need further players to come in, but that all takes time. And
and I agree with you. The only reason I say that, and the only reason I'm so adamant on that, is because of Daniel Levy, and I genuinely believe that Daniel Levy has his eyes set on Poch and sort of that glory and knowing that if he was to bring back Mauricio Pochettino, as much as a lot of the fan base would say yes, and I agree, I would also say it's not the best decision to make.
Darius, do you think Poch loves the club that much? Do you think Poch loves us that much?
I genuinely
after going to PSG.
Genuinely, I don't think he actually enjoys being at PSG. I think he enjoyed Tottenham, and I think that if he was given the opportunity, with sort of obviously the structural change isn't that drastic, and I know that there's still obviously upstairs is still upstairs, but I do believe that Paratisi and sort of these small changes in the club will give Poch maybe a sense of, I can actually get the rest of these players out, because a lot of these players have left now. Let's not lie to ourselves. The squad, the 11, I would say, is different, and the players that I would want to stay have stayed. But the reason I'm saying that so adamantly is because of Daniel Levy. I know that Daniel Levy, it would be so obvious to sort of trick and con everybody to bring, because I know, and I'm just saying this honestly for myself, if Poch was back in a Tottenham shirt or a Tottenham tracksuit, I'm going to be smiling from cheek to cheek. I would love that. So I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but I just know that there's that always that little bit of love within that Tottenham fan for Poch, and I know that if he came back, people would give him a chance, and it would seem rosy for the moment. And it's papering over cracks, but that's what we're best at. We're not going to fix problems, are we?
But what if Poch comes in and we don't see anything different to what Nuno was doing?
I'm pretty sure people would give Poch much more time than Nuno, which is what I'm saying.
You think Poch will come back in knowing that there's certain players that threw him under the bus that are still here? And the reason why I said threw him under the bus is because ultimately he had to rely on them.
Mm-hmm. I think it's guaranteed. You want guarantees. He's an idiot if he doesn't have guarantees. Sorry, David. That's it.
I'm talking about Winks, Davies, players like that, like Del Sanchez. They ultimately ended up failing. Do you think he will come back knowing they're still here? Because no matter if he comes in, no matter what manager comes in next, the games that we should be winning, early rounds of the Cup, the Europa Conference League group games, you're going to still keep seeing these results, and then players on. And ultimately, it's always going to keep putting pressure on the manager. So do you actually think that the Pochettino will come back with these? And just quickly on Gallardo before, I am aware that Tottenham did actually approach this guy in the summer. He said he wasn't coming. He wanted to finish out his contract with Boca Juniors. So I just wonder, maybe Spurs is Nuno kind of like interim until maybe he's available.
He's available in February, they said. That's when his contract ends at River Plate.
Yeah, December or February, one of those two. Like I said, honestly, it's one of those where, and I don't know what you guys think, but from when I saw the 2-year contract and then when I heard about this sort of break clause if he doesn't make top 6, it just seemed like the writing was on the wall from when he signed. And like you, I can't remember who, honestly, I'm sorry, I can't remember who said it earlier on in the stream, but I think it was you, David. You even if, like you said, you don't want to sack your manager after a few months, but those two managers, in my opinion, are better options and will get more out of the squad than Nuno is at the moment. So for me, you do have to sort of bite that bullet and take the opportunity.
We've got Nuno watching. Nuno is actually saying, how convenient the manager always gets to blame. With poor investment, even elite managers will struggle. The coach distracted and disinteresting play. So Nuno is not having it. And there's a point that David, I want to come and ask David, you said that, is there an argument for Nuno having more time? I think we said that there is more time that we should give Nuno, but how much more time? And I'm going to come to both of you, Jack and David, for that. David first, how much more time would you give him based on the way we're playing now?
I'll be honest, I actually think the next 2 weeks is crucial. Look, you've got the Carabao Cup game tomorrow. You lose that, you're out. You've got United at the weekend. You lose that, that's sour. You lose the Conference League game. That getting out of that group isn't looking too likely. And I can't remember who the next game is after that. So Everton.
Yeah.
And they got smacked by Watford at the weekend. So, we should be winning that. I think, look, if we don't see the next 2 weeks, the reason why I say that is because we can still be in 2 cup competitions. We can be in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup and into the next stages of the Europa Conference League, and we could be sitting in and around the 4th spot in the league. Or we could be out of 2 cups and further down the league quicker than what you can say boo. You know what I mean? So the thing is, I think the next 2 weeks is critical. Look, I'm at a point where I don't want to sack a manager just for the sake of sacking him. I don't want Levy to do it just to appease the fans. The only way he should do it is if there is somebody better lined up, ready to come in, contract signed and everything else, then you get rid of Nuno. We cannot afford to do another knee-jerk reaction and sack him. Look, I think if the next 2 weeks is bad and they have someone lined up, I think the next international break would be the ideal time. But look, me personally, I actually think this guy will be here till December, February, until other people become available, and then they might look at it. But by then, we could be sitting here saying, what's all the fuss about? So, look, I think the next 2 weeks is breaking point, I believe.
Jack, what's your breaking point?
I feel like being knocked out of those 2 cup competitions could be the breaking point, because at the end of the day, even though David and I can be a bit delusional at times and, like to think that we can maybe sneak into the top 4, I feel like falling out of the Carabao Cup would be absolutely ridiculous. And to a degree, I think that would already be a breaking point. And then falling out of, or even making Europa Conference League even more difficult, could be also a breaking point as well.
How embarrassing would that be if we don't get out of that group? How embarrassing would that be?
That's what I mean. That's bare minimum expectations right there. So I think that is just by itself a breaking point. You would like to think that you would want to have some sort of result against Man United. Personally, I'm not expecting too much, because it just seems all too convenient that they had that 5-0 loss and now they're coming up against us. But now I would say maybe that Everton game as well could be a bit of a breaking point. But any sort of loss, any sort of defeat in those 2 cup competitions, I think even with the Vitesse one as well, like if we don't have a convincing result at home against Vitesse, I just think those are in itself just too embarrassing, too hard to handle, and just already speak too much about maybe the state of the squad as well as the state of the manager. So those 2 cup competitions, that's where I would say Nuno should put his marbles into, if you ask me.
Mike, is it a case of changing the manager? Would that solve all the problems?
I don't think changing the manager will solve any problem at the moment. I think from Nuno's perspective, the formation wasn't working. He's changed it. We've changed formation to 4-2-3-1. Defensively, we look all right. Although we are, you could argue against West Ham we conceded a goal, but I wouldn't say that was the back line's fault. That was Kane just being shoddy at the defending the corner. But from my perspective, in terms of how long I would give him, I think I echo what David says in terms of I don't want Spurs to make a rash decision just for the sake of doing so. I don't think Levy will either, because it's kind of egg on his face if he gets rid of Nuno too soon. So I think,
but saying that though, Mike, just quickly, but so you can expand on this. But Levy, apparently, for all the rumours are to be true, had to be convinced by Paratich to actually hire him. So if I was leaving, I'm thinking, hold on a minute, it's not going too well. Who am I going to now blame? I might blame Paratich because of that. And he might want to get rid of Nuno. I'm not saying that he will, but I think it will be down, if the rumours are to be true, to be believed, it might be down to Paratich, should I say. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think it should be Levy making the decision. The director of football's there to make those sort of decisions. So leave it to Paratich to make that decision. Again, I don't think Paratich will get rid of Nuno so early, because it could be it's egg on whoever's face. Whoever gets rid of him, if they did, it's egg on their face if they do it early doors after 3-4 months. I just can't. I can't foresee Nuno going. I think what we'll find is it'll be a very sort of, we'll just continue win, lose, draw, lose, win. I think it's going to be a mixture of, it's going to be an up and down sort of season, an up and down period up until the midway point of the season. And then I think if any decisions were going to be made, that'd be when it's made. If we find ourselves at sort of Christmas time, January time, lying mid-table, yeah, I think you might find Nuno's his cards would be right on the wall for him. So, yeah, for me, if Nuno, like the next two games or the cup games that Jack mentioned, if we get knocked out of that or those, yeah, questions could be asked sooner. What have we got to play for if we get knocked out?
Minimum, I think.
And just quickly to add to that is, look, this is a crucial one. This one has to be done and planned carefully and executed with perfection, because, look, with Mourinho, you were always going to get another roll of the dice. But we all thought we would have got someone better. It didn't happen. We're now in a situation where no manager worth their greatness is coming to Tottenham and gambling their reputation on a squad. That is not good. That where you have players here that have been here too long and are negatively affecting the squad. So, like, it's a tricky one, because you can't just blame the manager. The players have to take a lot of blame, because we're seeing the same crap under a couple of different managers now. But, like, you also have to think, if we got in a better manager, if it was possible, would we see better from our more world-class players? So it's a very tricky one to navigate. Who is actually at fault? Is it Nuno? Is it the squad? So this one, whoever's in the club, they have to do this one perfectly. They have to identify the exact problem and then rectify it before they can go down and start sacking managers or this or that. Because if we sack Nuno, we could end up in a lot worse situation as well.
So I'll put it another way then. If we continue with the results that we're doing and they haven't identified anybody, how much more can that continue? Because we've seen when it was Jose, it got to a point where that was it. We know that Jose was dead man walking. The Everton game proved it. That was the tipping point. But up to that point, results weren't going well. The team wasn't playing well. We're not playing well at the moment. And if it gets worse than what we're doing now, we can't just limp along until January. I don't think that could happen. So I'm going to ask Sid, at what point then would it be enough for you to say, right, we have to change the manager, regardless of if there's a plan to bring somebody else in or not? What would be that point?
I said this a couple of weeks ago, didn't I? In terms of him getting sacked, it's not going to happen. If anything, I don't think anything's going to happen until January. Because the option we've got is if we get knocked out by Burnley tomorrow, We get battered by Man United, and then we get beat by Vitesse at home, right? Then that's a problem. But then the problem is who you're going to bring in. There's no one available. Ryan Mason would be obviously the obvious answer, right?
Please
we already
don't
know
do that. Don't say that
exactly.
again, please.
We already know what's happened, and Daniel Levy will not even contemplate thinking of that unless if the push comes to the shove and he's got no option. But I think Sean Hill's put it on there as well. You've got to stick with him until at least January, because you've got to give him time to try and get his philosophy, his tactics, everything in. And then the players now need to start taking a lot more responsibilities, because
let me just say this.
Go on.
Our goal difference at the moment, being -3, should put us around 15th, 14th, 15th, 16th. That's where we should be. In effect, the only reason why we're not is because we got them 1-0 wins at the beginning of the season. So that's the only reason that's holding us up at the moment. The way that the game's being played, having scored 9 goals in 9 games and conceded 13, that can't continue. So 9 games more when we get into that Christmas period, that would say that we're going to be down in that area of 15th, 16th, 17th if we're not careful.
I don't think that will be the case, because the reason we were losing those games that we did lose after that period of 3 games where we won 1-0, etc., was because we were playing 4-3-3, which just wasn't suiting, that formation wasn't suiting the players. So since Nuno's changed that around, which is one thing that he has learned to his credit, is 4-3-3. I've probably played this a bit too. I've played it too long. It's outstayed its welcome. I'm going to have to change this up. And he's put that double pivot in, which from that Aston Villa game through to now, we have conceded less goals than that 3 or 4 games where we were getting battered 3-0, 3-1, 3-0, etc. So he has learned from that perspective, and he has shored up the back line, because against West Ham, defensively, we were dealing with their attacks quite comfortably. Yeah. But the second half, we just didn't have. Again, we go back to this final ball, when that can't be down to Nuno insofar as, well, it's the players that are implementing, and they're going with the through balls, the final balls. It's them that's doing it poorly, and as such. And so, what does Nuno do? Does he then concentrate? Right, we got to practice on your final balls, lads. Do you know what I mean?
Said that in the press conference there at his post match. He said we need to work on our final ball and our final finish. Even
it's what you said, Jack. What you said earlier as well. You know, we had 3 instances where all they had to do was square it across. We win the game 3-0.
Exactly, and then it's a different game, because people won't be concentrating. Oh, well, we only made 3. We had 3 chances on goal, and we scored from them. People won't concentrate on that. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if that final ball is better, you'll see goals. But the final ball's poor,
that final ball would have been executed if they started off the game right. If they started off the game correctly, came in with the correct mentality, the correct enthusiasm that they should be shown, the correct motivation, the correct levels of energy that they should be shown. If all that was in place from the start, we would have won that 3-0.
You know what?
I agree, David.
I agree to a point that we could have scored them goals. The other point being, though, West Ham had 13 shots and 4 on target. I think the game before that, even when we played Vitesse, they had something like 16 shots. I think the game before that was we won that game. Was it Villa? I can't remember if it was Villa. But
Newcastle, wasn't it?
Newcastle. They scored in the first 2 minutes. So we're still susceptible to conceding goals. So whether we score or not, it's just that we've been quite lucky that teams haven't been that efficient against us to actually put it in the back of the net. But we have seen when they have been, we've lost quite heavily. 3-0, 3-0, 3-1. Do you know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying about us scoring.
Formation, though, isn't it?
But still, we played the formation that we wanted to see on Sunday, and we still had 13 shots against us. The point is, going forward, we might still concede goals.
I think if we'd played that 4-2, if we played a double pivot in that 4-2-3-1, we wouldn't have conceded the volume of goals that we did against Palace, against Chelsea, against Arsenal. I'm confident, and I'm happy to put my hand on the heart there. I don't think we would have conceded that many goals.
Let me just shout out this super chat from Joe before we can move on. Thank you, Joe, for that super chat, by the way. Levy out, Enoch out, and sack off many of these players. And you're probably right. We need to sack off quite a few of them. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much it. I don't think if Nuno had changed the formation round And he probably should have done it after the Crystal Palace game, because I know you could argue that there was players missing, etc. But you could see the writing was on the wall on that game that he should have changed the formation going into the Chelsea and Arsenal games. He should have gone to what the players are used to, which is, and it is quite a solid formation insofar as that, playing with that double pivot in front of the back line. And there probably isn't many double pivots that are better than what Skip and Højbjerg do. But where he's got it, well, I think he's probably shored it up defensively. He's got Romero and Dyer, who do seem to be forming some sort of partnership. Yeah, there's question marks over Dyer and his ability. And I know we've slaughtered him a couple of times on here, but there does seem to be something that's starting to build between the two of them. So he should probably continue with that. But Spurs just need to be looking at, from an attacking perspective, they just got to, especially in the second half, like David says, show some motivation, so show some enthusiasm. The effort levels, that's what it boils down to. Where's the effort levels of the first half? Continue into the second half, because you can't say that those players aren't fit, because, well, we've seen it. They are fit. I mean, Ndombele now is starting to play 80, 90 minutes consecutively, and he's starting to look pretty decent from what I've seen. Okay, against West Ham, his final ball could have been better, but we've seen plenty of performances previously with Ndombele, and even in last season where his performance levels were just awful and he was getting subbed after like 60 minutes. So I think there is improvements, but we need serious work from an attacking perspective.
That's a nice segue, and I'm going to start with Darius on that segue. Thank you for that segue, Mike. Into this, solutions. We must end this show by giving our thoughts. That was good, wasn't it? That was good, wasn't it? It's like we planned that or something. Let's go, Darius. Tell me, what can we do? What would success look like for you, and how can we gain that success? By what do we need to do? You tell me.
I wish I could actually think of a solution. I mean, you know what my name is. I am Darius 3K, but I have had to change my name to Darius 352K because I've been preaching this formation for God knows how long now, and I still believe that 352 is the best formation to play in world football at the moment. I think it just covers every area on the pitch, and you can attack and defend sort of very, very, very equally in that formation. So if you're not going to change the formation, first of all, January is the second place to look at. Are we going to make significant changes or significant transfers? Because like David said, again, I wanted Vinicius back because he would probably do more than Scarlett, but at the same time, I don't want Vinicius because I'd rather just not waste sort of like 4 or 5 million on loan fees and whatever to bring a guy in who's not really going to do much. I'd rather spend the big money and get a player in who's going to, have an impact on the team. So if you're not going to spend in January and you're not going to change the formation, again, solutions are you go next. It's almost like the manager's next, but again, I don't want to sack the manager. So the easy thing to do is change that formation. Let's just see because I'm still convinced that Nuno isn't playing a formation he wants to play. I'm still convinced he's almost being told to play 4 at the back because it's perceived to be more attacking. But honestly, let's just see what 3-5-2 can do. I'm telling you now, we have players who are more suited for that formation. Jaffa Tanganga for me is not a right back and is not a centre back, but as a right centre back in a 3, I think would be unbelievably perfect for him because it would allow him to go just enough forward, like just past the halfway line, but not have to, be reliant on the right side for creative output. So just please try this 3-5-2. Kane and Son up front and Ndombele behind them, Reguilon on one side, Emerson on the other. You can still play Skip and Højbjerg in that double pivot, and then you have a choice of 3 defenders. You can play Dyer, Romero, and then Tanganga. You can play Sanchez. It makes sense to me, and I don't know why it makes sense to anybody else, but that's what I would say, formation first.
Then you got 5 defensive players on the pitch at the same time, haven't you? You've got 3 centre backs plus the double pivot.
But you've got that, but then at the same time, if you allow Reguilon more space forward, and I don't think Romero will not play as a centre back. Romero will basically be playing as a DM in that sort of role. It will almost look like a diamond because if you've got 2 centre backs to cover Romero, he is then allowed to, and this is why he looked so good for Atalanta and for Genoa when he was there because they play 3 at the back and he's so aggressive and he is going to make that mistake. And I don't really trust Dyer sort of being the sole centre back to look out and protect Romero if he does go out there. So if you have 2 centre backs there protecting him, he can go and do that all he likes, and he can go forward as well. I noticed that against West Ham. towards the end of the game, he was picking that ball up almost at the halfway line, dribbling the ball to the box, and almost staying in that box, waiting to try and win a header. So transitions will be quicker with him there. I just think a lot of issues can be solved by playing players in positions that they actually are favoured and best in.
But then
and there's a lot of players being played out of position, I think.
Let me just ask David: is a formation change just the simplest thing, just to do that to make this team play better, to get the results that we need?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Look, what I think this squad needs, to be honest with you, is send them down to the local park to train, take all the comforts off them. Sit them in a room with a couple of fans and let them know what they're doing to the fans and how disrespectful they're being to the club. I'd make them take a history test, a Tottenham history test as well. I'd sit down and make them motivational reels of legends gone by and exactly, what they want when they're finished retiring, that they want to be known as, which is a legend. So show them exactly how a legend acts. And, basically just make them accountable, because, look, a lot of these players, they're just overgrown man children, aren't they, really? They have too much luxury. They have way too much luxury. And I'm absolutely fed up with it. It's about time they got slapped with a dose of realism for once, So send them down to the local pitches and make them train, where fans then can come down, watch them, and heckle them until they start doing better. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm fed up of hearing them crying and cribbing. I want game time. I need games to be able to, find a rhythm. Well, first of all, when you get given a chance, you have to play well in order to get games, to find a rhythm. Too many times do we have players out here that expect things. We have too many players here that are dragging a lot of the new signings in down. There's a bad culture in the dressing room. A solution, just quickly, is look, I speak to my cock every day, okay? Stroke it. I tell it how much I love it, and it just reminds me how much I love Tottenham Hotspur. So that's the solution. It just makes you feel happy.
How can you follow that, Jack? If you can follow that, you're a better man than me.
I'm going to go for a beautiful combination. I'm going to go for a beautiful combination of what David said, as well as Darius, though. But I'm going to probably, as maybe Darius and I kind of get along with in the tactics. I know the 3-5-2, I stand by it with Darius, but we don't have to necessarily change that 4-2-3-1 in order to maybe do somewhat of a 3 in the back to be a bit more attacking going forward, as well as defensively secure. We saw it with Italy last, in the Euros. They went for that 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, but it was really, when they were attacking, it was more like a 3 in the back, where they had, Spinazzola going forward, and they had Di Lorenzo sucking in deep to kind of, become another center back. We could do that with Tanganga. We could do that with Emerson, and then we have Reguilón bombing forward. And then as well, when you think about it that way, you can still keep Skippy and Højbjerg. You can keep Tanguy there, and then you still might have Sonny, Lucas, as well as Harry Kane up top. And then you have Reguilón with a bit more freedom going forward. And then you have Romero, Dyer, and probably Tanganga, because then it allows Tanganga to not be forced to go forward. He can actually be basically what Di Lorenzo is doing for Italy. So I'm going to go for the combination of probably talking my cock every night, but then as well, going for that 4-2-3-1, but really more like a 3, be almost like a 3-4-3 kind of situation, going forward, I would probably say. So that's my kind of solution, a bit of a hybrid of those two brilliant answers.
I was going to say, regarding the formation, you can transition from any shape, any formation into another formation.
Exactly.
So you can have 4-2-3-1, and all it means is Skip or Højbjerg drops into the centre back position to create the 3 centre backs, and then you push your foot. As what Lucas Moura is doing, he comes into the midfield as he was doing far too much at the weekend, and he can make that extra midfielder. So you can transition. It's all about how you perform in the game. It's not about the formations, because that's what it looks like on paper. You can make a 3-5-2 in the game. You can make a 4-3-3 in the game. You can make it never is. It's only the defensive shape what you need to get back into in order to be organized. That's where you have your setup. But in terms of attack, it's fluid. It has to be fluid. You never see it, that's now 4-3-3. Because if it was, you're just playing in organized lines. You can't do that with a fluid system. You have to be able to create opportunities by movement, by players knowing what they're doing on the pitch. Right, as a fullback, if Skip now drops into the centre-back, I can now bomb forward because he's there to protect, because the right-sided centre-back now plays in my position. It's all about letting the players know what they need to do. Nothing to do with formation.
Sounds like a manager issue then to me, because
that's
at the end
exactly
of the day,
what I think it is.
That's it. But then how much do you blame the players then? Because at the end of the day, from what you've explained to me, and I agree with you with what you're saying, but will these players take on board a different sort of tactical insight from a different manager?
What I will add to that is, the players are responsible for their effort levels at the minimum. I've seen that we haven't had the effort levels. There is no manager in the world that could say to a player, right, I want you to go out there, but you know what I mean? I don't want you to try too hard. That should never happen. You could never have that. So players have to take that responsibility themselves. Yeah. There is no reason why a player cannot take a game by the scruff and they can say, you know what, we're playing shit here. Regardless of what the manager's telling us to do, we're playing shit. That's leadership. We need to try and attack, or we need to score goals. We need to get a shot off and goal. That doesn't matter what a manager tells you. That's about players' mentality. So there's a combination. It's not just one thing. There's a number of things. But I can't have this, if we play this system, that's going to make it better. No, because if the players don't perform, don't matter what system you play, you ain't going to get anything out of them. Nothing.
But I also think, but when I said, but I kind of disagree, because like I said, with Romero, and when I say that, I'm using Romero as an example, him as a player will always be the aggressor. He will never, I don't think Romero will ever be sort of that player that's going to defend deep. So if you do change it to a 3, then you can sort of see an automatic uptake in sort of player performance, because he's going to be more protected. So I do agree with you, but then at the same time, I do think that if you just change the formation, you can actually see sort of a big change in the way players perform. And I think that Romero would get better with 2 players behind him, and all you have to do is put an extra defender in there. And it may sound like you're making more of a defensive change, but it will work out better for the team in sort of the long run and going forward.
But then we're doing more protecting the back line. So what we're saying is we're trying to create something to make him play better, but we need to get more goals. So taking one attacker out is having less opportunities, in my opinion, to get the goals if you haven't got players that are scoring. We don't have a lot of goal scorers in our team. Harry Kane, Son, and Ndombele recently. If you was to take Ndombele out, you're still then relying on Son and Kane to score your goals majority. Because I don't think we're going to get goals from Emerson. I don't think we're going to get goals from Reguilon. I don't think we're going to get many goals from Skip or Højbjerg. We might get 1 or 2. So to create and make a better back line isn't solving the problem going forward. We need to do something to create more opportunities to score goals, but also to protect some of the players. So yeah, the transition between Skip going in or Højbjerg dropping into a back 3 and still having them same attacking players on has to be the way, in my opinion, the way forward. If you was in a dressing room, Sid, what would you get these players to do? What would be your thoughts?
You know what, we've discussed this, haven't we? Formation change. Formation change, I don't personally think is going to make a difference, because you've still got the same personnel on the pitch. Whether you change the formation, you're not going to get any much more than what you've already got out of these players. So if you're going to change it to 3-5-2, are you telling me from 4-4-2 playing the same team to a 3-5-2, you're going to get a different kind of reaction? I don't think you are. It's still the same players. You put them in a different position, you're not going to get the same reaction. I said to you the other day, I think I put it in the group, didn't I? Look at Chelsea's fullbacks, right? They scored. Both of them scored the other day. When was the last time we actually had one of our fullbacks get anywhere near the goal? Yeah, but even when they get there, they sort of like they mess up the cross, or they have a sort of a shot that's too soft. Reguilon gets in enough attacking positions, but for me, sometimes the end product is just so poor from him.
He's a poor Danny Rose.
Yeah, it's a poor Danny Rose.
But he wasn't, because he scored and he assisted a lot for Sevilla. I just think it's not being told, or not even being allowed, but I just think it's a lack of confidence and a lack of being able to sort of express yourself on a free level. Because I understand that Reguilon, when he played for Sevilla, it was still a 4 at the back. I mean, Lopetegui still played 4 at the back, but he allowed Reguilon to do, once he got past the halfway line, it was almost up to Reguilon to sort of make that decision on what he did, because he had confidence and the sort of the trust within him to make that decision.
Reguilon has the most goal-creating actions in our squad right now.
Exactly.
He's the guy who's created the most goals in our squad.
I think what it is when he gets forward,
his final ball's poor at times.
But that's the thing, though. But he still has the best final ball statistically this season.
He had that one ball, didn't he, where Kane should have scored with that header. But I think when he gets forward, I think half the time Kane's too defensive. He's too far back. Son's probably just about getting there. There's nobody else there, so he's probably getting there and he's thinking, "There's no one in the area. What am I supposed to do?" But going back to that 3-5-2, yeah, it may work. But me personally, no matter what formation you're going to play with that team that we've got, you're going to get the same results, because there's nothing. I don't think there's anything left in them apart from like Son, Højbjerg, Skip, Romero. The rest of them, you can play 6 up top and 3 at the back. You're still going to get the same results. So I don't know. I think as a collective, and I've said this before, they all need to sit in that dressing room now, and they just need to sit there and just work something out, because obviously Nuno's not working, or they're not listening to Nuno. And I agree what you said, Sam. At some point, if Nuno said to you, right, this is what you got to do, and the game's not going, if the game's going against us, then somebody's got to take it by the scruff of the neck and say, right, you know what, boys, Nuno's told us to do this. It's not working. Let's do something different, and let's win this fucking game.
And that's what my point is. After having seen so many games where we haven't done that, and we've had no shot, somebody's got. I cannot think of a team that, if you imagine City with Pep, they set up really well, but there were times when a player, De Bruyne, it might have been David Silva in the past, it might have been Aguero, somebody steps up and just takes that game and takes it to him. Salah's doing it for Liverpool. You can't tell me that, Klopp says, and well, he's going to get that. Sometimes he has to do something. He has to do something special in the final third. Somebody has to make that crunching tackle. Similar to what Romero did on the weekend. He just G'd it. He kind of made me think, he's being a bit aggressive. Something. Do you know what I mean? David, what would you do? What would you do?
Look, I do think I do think there is one simple change that Nuno could make in the 4-2-3-1 system, and for me, that's move Lucas Moura into the number 10. Look, Lucas Moura, when he plays out right, look, for me, he doesn't have the end product, but what he does do, he creates havoc and creates a lot of space for other people to run into, because he draws defenders out. So that would give Kane a lot more space, because he'd probably end up drawing out one of the centre backs in and around off Kane, which means that there's space for him to run into. And put Brian Hill or someone like that. Maybe if Bergwijn can get back fit, put him out on the right, have a bit more energy, but give one of them a chance out there and see. Because look, the right hand side has been a problem for a long time now. Look, Gareth Bale, he solved it for a little bit. He turned up when he wanted to and solved it for a brief period. But we need more coming from that right hand side. It's not working out with Lucas, but because of how hard Lucas works, you cannot drop him. So move him into the number 10. Get him to create more space for Kane. He'll create more space for Son. And maybe for me, put Brian Hill out on the right, because he is a bundle of energy as well. He is non-stop action, non-stop running. And for me, I think you'd probably see a lot more, because there'll be a lot more movement. About that fluidity of movement that you're talking about, Shane. Players that you have Son. He will make all these different runs. Lucas, Gill. And then that way you're creating all these runs, and then, you're freeing up Kane. I think that would be a simple solution in the 4-2-3-1. It's just maybe sorting that out, because as hard as Lucas works, there's nothing coming down that right-hand side. So we're going back to where we were on the Josie, where if you stop Kane and Son, you stop Tottenham. And that's what's happening again right now.
Do you not think Moore is more of an impact player?
Look, I'll be honest, if I had my option, I would have him more as a bench player to come on and try and impact again. But right now, we don't have that option. He's one of our hardest working players. He has to play.
Yeah.
He does more on the right than anyone else, and I kind of agree with that.
Listen, guys, this is really good, but I know that this time's moving on, so I want to get your final thoughts. Obviously, we've got a couple of games coming up. We've got Burnley tomorrow, cup game. I personally think we have to win that one. We have to stay in this cup competition, and I personally believe, playing at home against Man United after them getting what they got on the weekend, we have to win that game. I don't even think a draw is really good enough because of the fact we ain't won a lot. But your final thoughts. Start with you, Mike. What's your final thoughts?
It's going to be an interesting few weeks, isn't it? Man United. Well, Burnley. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, Burnley tomorrow. Man United. Is it Vitesse on the week?
Man United Saturday, then Vitesse. Yeah. Then Everton, then Leeds.
Everton. They're not easy games either. Everton away is going to be tough, even though they got spanked by, was it Watford?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's going to. They're not going to be an easy team. Leeds, you never know what you get with Leeds. It's going to be, it's going to be an interesting 4-5. Well, certainly 4 or 5 weeks. I think that will determine where we are as a club, where Nuno is, whether it's looking like the cards are on the wall. I'm a bit undecided insofar as like what Nuno can do and like what looks good for Nuno now. I know you could say, right, he wins every single game, that's perfect, but we don't live in a perfect world, and we know full well that we're not going to win every single game for the next however many weeks. So, yeah, I think it's just a case of just fasten your seatbelt and prepare for the ride, because it's going to be a bumpy one. But going back just quickly on David's point, I would still keep Ndombele in that number 10 role, because I think he's starting to improve, and we're seeing more of what Ndombele can do, as opposed to with Mora. I'd get rid of Mora I'd put him as an impact sub, and I'd go with Bergwijn, and because he looked quite lively out on the right before he got injured. I know his final ball's poor, but then so is everyone's at the moment. But it might be that if Mora comes on as an impact sub, it could benefit us in that way. So, yeah.
Daz, we've got a few minutes left, so I want you to give a quick summation for the next few weeks.
Penalties tomorrow, 100%. That will be a 1-1 or a 0-0. So get ready for that one, boys. Saturday, Dr. Tottenham. So I genuinely think Man U will do a number on us. Ronaldo hat-trick. You'll see him celebrating. Vitesse, I don't care about the Conference League, so I actually don't care what happens in that game. And then, yeah, I think Everton and Leeds are the big ones for me, because you have to. I expect to win in the game tomorrow, even though it's penalties. I expect to win. So if he loses, he should be on the chopping board, in my opinion. Man United, I'll give him a bye, because Man United will do something to us. I know that is inevitable. What's going to happen on Saturday? And then, yeah, Vitesse again. I expect, if I'm going to expect any result, I'm going to expect to win. So that Everton Leeds game is going to be interesting. I do agree, though. I think that the Leeds game for me should be a guaranteed win. We seem to comfortably beat Leeds because they are so incredibly naive against us every single time. It's almost the perfect game for Nuno Leeds. So again, I'm expecting a lot of wins, even though I'm very extremely negative towards Tottenham at the moment. But it is what everybody's saying. I think that if we actually look at it, there's a lot of quality players, and we aren't seeing the best of them at the moment. So whatever it is that's going to take a change, it has to start soon, because unfortunately, if we leave it till January, February time, it could get really ugly, because as much as we think that, yeah, we're only at 4 or 5 points off the top, there's a lot of teams on 14 points. There's a lot of teams on 14 points, and sort of 2 or 3 bad results, and you'll be looking way lower in the table than you thought you were 3 weeks ago. So yeah, I think it really is a game by game basis. As cliche as that is, I think it is a game by game basis at the moment, because we don't know what the league's going to say, and we don't know what our results are going to say at the moment. We haven't drew a game yet, so it's either win or lose at the moment. It's a bit crazy.
I know we've got a couple of minutes, and I know these two have got a show to do, so I want to come to them. But Sid, just your quick final thoughts.
So yeah, I think tomorrow's going to be a win, but I think we'll win tomorrow. I think Man United, everyone thinks we're going to get battered, but I think we're going to turn up on Saturday. And then Vitesse, we're at home, so we're going to beat them. And
your final thoughts have to include a song. You've been asked by Jews now. And Sid, please sing a win for tomorrow.
And I was going to just say, right, listen, mental health for everyone at the moment, especially Spurs fans, is a serious note. So ask Sid on Friday, right? Join me. And what I was going to say is, let it go. Can't hold it anymore. Yeah, let it go.
I want to leave the stream. I do want to leave the stream right now.
Turn away and don't slam the door. Join me on Friday.
Frozen. Oh my God, what a great one-to-one. Jack, I know. Final thoughts.
Burnley, I think, as a must-win. No exceptions. Has to be a win. I don't care how it happens. Penalties, just don't care. Man United, I'm not expecting much. I'll be off the rooftops if we even win that one. I just don't really expect much against that kind of, against that kind of crowd, especially that kind of loss. Then you think about Vitesse, that has to be a must win, especially after what just happened, over in the Netherlands. And then now, maybe Everton as well, to a degree, has to be a win. So Man United is the only one I'm not expecting much from. And then as well, let's think smarter than Vinicius. That would be my final thoughts. Think smarter than Vinicius.
And we cannot not go out this show without ending with the big man on here. And he's going to be doing his show. We're going to be tuning into that one after this one. David, tell us.
Yeah, look, it's the hope that kills you. I'll be honest with you. Every week I'm going to tune in for the disappointment. Every single game, I'll go into it believing we can win, and I believe you should too. It helps with your psyche, it helps with your health, mentally. And look, it's just about there's no point in walking around down in the dumps all day about Tottenham. So it just helps, you know, bring a smile to people's faces. So, look, no matter how tough times can get, just stick with the club. Stick with your love for the club. Remember why you loved it. Like I said, sometimes you stroke your cock, give it a kiss, you know, and just immerse yourself in the culture and just remind yourself of why you love the club. Look, times are tough. But at the end of the day, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We're used to it, and we will get through it. You have to go through the bad to be able to get with the good. We will have our day. Come on, you Spurs, and up Paxton fucking Road.
What a way to end. I will say to kids that are watching, he's talking about a cockerel. He's not actually talking about anything else. That's all I'll add to that. That is all I'll add to that. I've got no more to say because David has absolutely killed everything and it's now burnt down. I hope that we don't get taken down, but we shouldn't, because it's after 9 o'clock. It's after 9 o'clock. Perfect. Mike, Darius, Sid, Jack, and of course, David the Irish Hotspur. Thank you very much. We're tuning into you. I know you guys have got to go now, so we're going to end it now. But it's been a brilliant show. Thank you very much for that. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Paxton Road TV. Look out for Art Seed on Friday. We have a reaction show for the Burnley game tomorrow. And then, obviously, Saturday is the one against Man United, where Dr. Tottenham will probably show up for that one, as we've already discussed. That is it, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Enjoy. We must have to do something else in life, but we're Spurs fans, so yeah.